Former state Senator Russell Pearce has put in his resignation as the Arizona Republican Party's vice chair because he has made some pretty controversial statements about people on Medicaid. Now, he has said controversial things in the past. For instance, he calls Republicans who refuse to use the word wetback sissies because he thinks that that's an important word to use to describe undocumented immigrants. So you can tell he's a really classy guy. But his recent statements have to do with how we should force sterilization of women or sterilizations of women who are on Medicaid. So let me give you his exact statement. And this is what he said on his radio show on some irrelevant channel that no one's ever heard of. He said, you put me in charge of Medicaid. The first thing I do is get Norplant, birth control implants, or tubal ligations. Then we'll test recipients for drugs and alcohol. And if you want to reproduce or use drugs or alcohol, then get a job. He also says, in response to whether or not food stamps make sense, he says, no cash for ding-dongs, no ho-hos. You'd only get money for 15-pound bags of rice and beans, blocks of cheese and powdered milk, all the powdered milk you can haul away. If you want a steak or frozen pizza, then you'd have to get a job.
Okay, so this guy's very clever, right? And he wants to, a guy who, of course, is for limited government, wants to tell you exactly what to eat, in what proportions to eat. And he also, by the way, works for the government, or used to before he got recalled.
Right.
So when he had a government salary, I guess we could have just paid him in blocks of cheese and all the condensed milk he could drag away. That would have been fine because he's living off the government, right?
Yeah.
Medicaid person's living off the government. He was living off the government.
Yeah, look.
But they're poor, so we get to hate on them.
Look, I hate this guy. I think he's a terrible person, but that argument doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, he's getting paid by the government, but he's working, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his argument is, these people are sitting on their asses, they're not working, and we're giving them government cheese, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are working, by the way, and they're barely making ends meet because they're not getting paid a living wage, so they need government assistance. So that's a part of it as well.
So in this case, he actually wants to give them government cheese, which is kind of funny. Okay. But you're right. The heart of the story is he's saying if you ran into hard times, right, and you need to get Medicaid, which happens to Americans from time to time, then we're gonna regulate every part of your life.
Yeah.
Okay. Not only what you eat in proportions, but also whether you can have kids or not. But implicit in what he's saying, Anna, is you're not worthy of reproducing.
Right, of course. Yeah, we don't want your children because they're probably going to be slobs, lazy, worthless like you. That's what he's implying.
You're a bum.
Yeah.
You're a bum.
Right.
Okay, and we're not going to let you have kids. Now, a lot of Americans who have been on Medicaid for one reason or another are not going to love that description.
Yeah.
People get on Medicaid, they also get off of it, right? Would he then untie their tubes, or are they banned from having kids forever because they once took Medicaid? And by the way, that sounds like the kind of thing that fascists used to do, right? Okay, we're going to do eugenics.
Yep.
Those are the kind of people. And by the way, it's not like he's not familiar with neo-Nazi literature. Apparently, he passed out neo-Nazi literature at one time.
In 2006.
That's not, it's not like it was 1984, right?
Yeah.
It was an article from a neo-Nazi group called National Alliance on, now, listen to this. The title of the article was, Who Rules in America? The alien grip on our news and entertainment media must be broken. And it turns out if you read the article on who rules the media, you're going to be shocked to find out. Turns out it's the Jews. Okay, that's what the article says. So it's not, even if he didn't know that it was from a neo-Nazi group, if you read the article, you're like, oh, that's problematic.
He sent that article to all his campaign supporters, in an email.
He refused to, in another campaign, to talk about his relationship with J.T. Reddy, who was a white supremacist that killed 4 people in 2012 in a murder-suicide outside of Phoenix. This is a really bad guy. Okay, now, you might say, well, irrelevant. No. This guy is super relevant. Mm-hmm. First of all, he was the president of the Arizona Senate at one time. President of the Arizona Senate. Number 2, he's famous for passing the anti-immigration laws in Arizona. He was their author.
Yep.
So the ones that we all know about, papers, and asking everybody who looks Latino for papers.
SB 1070.
That's Russell Pearce.
Yeah.
Okay, that's this guy.
By the way, he worked under Joe Arpaio.
Yeah, he originally worked under Joe Arpaio.
Yeah.
Then he became president of the Senate. He got finally people got sick of him. He got recalled in 2011, and then he ran again in 2012. And after all the neo-Nazi stuff, etc., he lost 56 to 44. I'm not sure it should have been that close. But still, to this day, he was the Arizona Republican Party's second in command until he resigned because of these comments. Second in command of the Republican Party in Arizona.
Yep. And I mean, things had gotten so bad that the GOP in Arizona was like, we need to distance ourselves from this guy because we're going to start losing elections as a result of his crazy statements. And by the way, like, I love how he talks about morality and all that other stuff. According to Raw Story, Pearce accepted but didn't report nearly $40,000 in paid junkets and college football tickets from Fiesta Bowl officials while helping them receive state subsidies.
Well, why didn't he just pay them in blocks of cheese? Okay, you know what a subsidy is? It's welfare, right?
Damn.
He's giving out welfare so he can put $40,000 in his pocket.
Damn.
That's the kind of guy this guy is. If you didn't already know that, when he said anybody who doesn't call Mexicans wetbacks is a sissy. Okay, now, one last thing, because there's no end to it with this guy. And he said, when asked about the comments that he made that eventually led to his resignation, he said, they were shared comments written by someone else, and I failed to attribute them to the author. Now, wait a minute. That sounds like two things that are going on. One, why don't you be a man and own up to the comments you made? What are you, a sissy? I mean, now you're backpedaling all of a sudden. Oh, it wasn't me. Oh, somebody else told him to get a job. I didn't mean it. And second of all, you just admitted to plagiarism, you idiot. Okay. I don't know. I was just plagiarizing a guy and saying all those comments. And what, that got me in trouble? I like how I focused at the end on plagiarism from a guy who's a massive racist. Okay. And has like 88 other problems.
Yes.
Is like likes neo-Nazis. And he's a plagiarizer. Okay. Okay. Keep that in mind about Russell Pearce.